Hello everybody, and welcome to my Sims 3 LEPacy. So if you don't know what a LEPacy is, basically it's a legacy challenge, but each generation represents expansion pack. So the first generation is base game, and then the second generation is mod adventures, and then so on and so forth like that. Currently I think I've just finished the pets generation technically, and I'm waiting for the Showtime generation to be born. But I thought it'd be easier if I went back in time throughout my saves and then showed you how the family progressed roughly once a generation. So this is my founder, Alfie Thrasher. He is unlucky, a natural cook, good, a schmoozer, and ambitious. The reason I wanted to do this challenge was because I saw a lot of people back in April starting a lot of these LEPacy challenges, so I was like, oh, I want to get back into The Sims 3, I'll play that. So I did, and a lot of them seem to have their founders go into the business career. So I decided to do that too, because I'm unoriginal. So yeah, I gave him traits that I think would be pretty decent at being a businessman. I think he's level 2 at the moment. Yeah, so he's pretty decent at that. It made him good because I wanted to have like a good businessman instead of like an evil capitalist businessman. Currently, he is in a relationship with BB Hart, and I believe she is pregnant with their first child. It's been 10 months, I don't really remember, but I think by the looks of her portrait, she's pregnant. This is his house. It's the really thin, skinny one in Sunset Valley. And I made it all purple because his favourite colour is purple, and I hadn't used the colour wheel in years, so I went a bit overboard, but I like it. Or at least he likes it, I think. Yeah, so this was my founder. There's not much to say at the moment because I think this is all within the first play session that I did. I think I played a week. Yeah, I played a 1 week in one sitting, so not much has really happened yet. I'm going to skip forward now to about 27 years in the future, I think. Roughly. Okay, so this is the same house about roughly 27 years later. I don't know the exact years, but as you can see, we've got an upstairs now. Yeah. Here is Alfie. Looking quite shocked. Obviously, he's an elder now. It's been quite a while. He did complete his lifetime wish of becoming a CEO, so that's good for him. So he eventually married BB, and they had 2 kids together, Connie and Reggie. And then BB left him, and then Alfie went on to adopt a son called Charlie. But the main child we care about is Connie. She is the baby that BB was pregnant with in the last segment. So she is the embodiment of the World Adventures expansion pack. So she went off. She wanted to go and explore the world, and I think by this point she had been to everywhere. Maybe. Let me check about level 3, level 2, level 2. Okay, she wasn't done yet, but she was almost done. So that's good. The first place she went to was China, and she really enjoyed it. She learned martial arts and all that. And all that. Wow. Okay, so when she was in China, she fell in love with a man called Liang Yat-sen. And they were in love, you know. They were happy. And then when Connie got back to China for her second trip, she found out that Liang had gotten engaged to another woman. So that wasn't ideal. And then Connie found out that she was pregnant with Liang's baby. So she didn't really know what to do. And that baby is Archie. So Archie doesn't really have much of a relationship with his dad. He did come and visit them when he was born, and he was around for like a couple of days, but he had to go back to China. And I'm assuming his wife knows about Archie's existence. I think she does. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that now Liang and his wife have their daughter together. So I don't think Liang will be in Archie's life very much. So after she, had a baby in China and was heartbroken, she decided to go to Egypt instead. And within hours of getting there, she fell into a relationship with a married man and had Barney. So Barney is the son of Sopdu Hawass, who was the special merchant, I believe is what he's called. In each country they have like a special merchant. He was that. Yeah, he's married. He has 2 kids. I don't know if Connie knew that when she got pregnant, but yeah. So Connie doesn't have a great history with men. And then because I felt like I didn't want to leave France out of the whole being part of the family thing, her brother Reggie, who doesn't live here anymore, he lives on the other side of town, married a French woman called Domitilde. So we've got the 3 vacation destinations in our family, which is fun. Connie, when she was a teenager, went through like a goth phase, and she got a job in the mausoleum. And because she's off adventuring a lot, she doesn't really have time to have like a proper job. So I just decided to let her keep on working there. She just works there part-time whenever she's in the country. And yeah. Here's the hat. Oh my god, yeah! I forgot to say. He was in a relationship with a woman called Autumn. I forgot about that. I forgot about her. I think she had red hair. I don't remember. I think she was an NPC originally. I don't remember what she was. She was something. Yeah, so here's his ex-wife. Okay. Okay. So when... I didn't explain this back in the last clip, but when Alfie met BB, she was in a relationship. She was engaged to Leighton. But then she left Leighton for Alfie. So obviously Leighton hates him, but now also BB hates him. And also Madison hates him for some reason, I don't remember why. Here's an overview of the house. It's mostly the same, if it's just slightly adjusted to fit in more Sims. His room is Alfie's room is basically the same as it was. Connie's room, looking back on it now, is probably cultural appropriation. She does have a Chinese kid though, so I don't know if maybe this is okay. I don't know. I have no idea. This is the room where I just shove all the other kids because we don't have enough space to have like a 5-bedroom house. And yes, the toddler does live in the hallway. Okay, so now we're in a different house, and in fact a completely different world. We now live in Twinbrook because we're in the Sims 3 Ambitions generation now, and I try to move them into a different town if there's a new town that comes with that game. With that expansion, sorry. So obviously we've got a bit of an upgrade in terms of our house. It's now much bigger. It's no longer like 2 caravans stacked on top of each other. It's now like a full-on mansion. So, here's Alfie, once again in not a very complimentary position, but okay. He's currently trying out some martial arts. I don't remember if green belt's a good belt. I don't remember. Level 4. Okay, he's doing decently. Before I go further, I think I should explain. Connie isn't here anymore. She's still alive. She lives there, I believe. No, she doesn't. Connie lives here. So once she had completed her lifetime wish of becoming an explorer and getting level 3 visa in all the different countries, I basically decided I had nothing else to do with her. So I just decided she can go off and finally get married after having 2 children with married men, and just enjoy living her life. So she married DeAndre Wolf, I believe his name is, and they live in this other mansion which is down the road from our mansion, and they had twins whose names I don't remember, but they live here. Okay, so not much has really happened with Alfie in the past like 25 years? I don't know how long it's been. It's definitely been a while. So, the main event in his life so far has been LEPacy. Okay. Okay, so before Connie moved out, she had a whole load of canopic jars in her inventory, and she also had the pieces to make a sarcophagus. So before she moved out, we just moved into this house. She threw all the canopic jars into the sarcophagus and somehow managed to resurrect a mummy from that. I don't know how that works. Sims logic. So, here's LEPacy Laramoropolis. I'm getting used to saying his name. He's been around for a while now. Okay. In my mind, he was like the court musician for the pharaohs or whatever. So he was good at whatever kind of musical instruments they would have had back in like 2000 BC. I'm not sure what they would have had, but he was doing that. So when he moved to the modern era, or when he was resurrected, he learnt the guitar, and he's currently a musician. He's level 7. He's doing all right. That's his lifetime. His lifetime wish is to be a hit composer, so it makes sense. That's probably why I did it. Okay, he fell in love with Alfie. So I don't think they're married, are they? No, they're just boyfriends. But they've been together for quite a few years. LEPacy's an interesting person. He's also an inventor. So he invents. He's invented like little toys and like machines and stuff. But maybe one day he'll make something a bit more impressive. Maybe, I don't know. I do know. Okay, so here's Barney. Barney was the toddler in the last section. So he's grown up. He's now an adult, or a young adult, I think. Is he a young adult? Yeah. So he's a young adult. And he is a firefighter. So there's a story behind him being a firefighter. So if you remember, like 5 minutes ago for you, he had an older brother called Archie. Archie was originally my sim for the Ambitions generation. I was playing with him. He had just got married to a woman called Chase Bayless, I believe, from Twinbrook. They just got married. It was their wedding night. And LEPacy was inventing something in the room next to them, and then started a fire. And then and then Alfie was caught in the fire, and then I managed to put him out because he's my founder and I don't want him to die like that. Once I saved him, Archie then caught on fire. So I didn't get around to saving him, and Archie died. So here's Archie. He was only like 25. I was a shock. I didn't really know what to do after that point, because like, you know, the sim I was planning to play with for the next like generation had just died on me. But thankfully he had a brother, so I just went over and took Barney and brought him back into this house. And before he died, Archie was a ghost hunter, because I don't really remember doing the ghost hunter career in The Sims 3 that much. But I thought because, you know, his brother had died in a fire, that Barney would take up being a firefighter instead. And that's what he does. I don't remember what level he is at the moment. Level 10. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Cool. I don't remember how quickly I did this. Wow. The earlier generations were a lot quicker, I think. I'm just thinking forward to like the pets in generations, how long did they take? Yeah. So when he moved back into this house, Barney met the maid called Antiseptic. I didn't name her, that's just her name in the game. I know it's Antiseptic. Yeah. So he met her. She was considerably older than him, but they ended up having a child together. This family struggles with long-term commitment. So here's their child called Millie. Obviously, she's a toddler. There's not much to say about her yet. She's just a toddler. Yeah, so you can see here Anne is now an elder. I don't think they were together that long. I think it was really just enough. No! Wait! Did Anne try and get in a relationship with Alfie? Why am I remembering that? Did that happen? I'm asking you. No one else knows besides me. I think that happened. I think I remember that. I think she tried to not sleep with him. I think she tried to have flirt with him, but he said no. But then either way, Barney got angry because his girlfriend is trying to flirt with his granddad. Relatable problems. So she ended up leaving, and they don't have a great relationship at the moment, but I think they repair that in the future. I think they'll be fine. I will also say now that Alfie's other two children, Reggie and Charlie, are in Twinbrook as well as their wives and all of their children. I'm not going to go into their stories because really it's not important and it would just take up too much time. But yeah, everyone's here. I moved everyone to Twinbrook. So yeah, they're all still together, which is nice. Okay, so now we are another 20 something years later into the future. Firstly, you can see Alfie's dead. Obviously he would have died quite a few years ago. Here he is next to his grandson. He got the nice big tombstone, so he achieved a lot in his life, which is all I really wanted from my founder, is for them to have achieved something, Okay, so here's Barney. He is still a fireman. In the last clip, he was already level 10, but he's still level 10. He's still working. He's an elder, but he's still going around. He has literally just gotten married to this woman called Jane. To be honest, I don't remember a whole lot about her, other than the fact that she was his wife. Really, I don't really remember her. She was in the army, very low down in the army. Before they turned into elders, I did have them try for a baby in the time machine that Matanisi invented. Is it out here? Yeah, okay. So Matanisi invented a time machine, and I had Barney and Jane try for a baby in it, and then out popped Tonya. Oh, she's at work, of course. Great. So I had Barney and Jane try for a baby in the time machine, and out came Tonya a few days later. A fully grown woman. She is technically a cave woman, though for some reason she's not wearing her cave woman clothes. I don't know why. But here she is. There's really not much to say about her. I really didn't play with her. I think I had her. She popped out of the time machine, and then the next day I stopped playing with this town and just skipped forward to the next generation because I kind of got bored. So yeah, I don't really remember much about her or her mother, but they exist. Ignore what she looks like because this is just what she aged up to look like. This is Millie now. She's a teenager. No, she's a young adult now. Okay. We'll talk about her later. We'll talk about her later. Yeah. Here's Donald. You don't really need to know much about Donald. Why is he in Alfie's bed? Oh god, okay. You don't need to know much about him yet. Just know that he exists. Here's Matanisi. He, was being a mummy. He's still alive. He, after the death of Alfie, he was very lonely. Because, he was really the only person in the present time that he really bonded with. So he decided to cure his loneliness by inventing a robot, who of course is at work. So this is Carl. He's a Simbot. I haven't really got anything else to say about Carl at this point in time. He has a girlfriend? Abby Blanton? Who the hell are you? What? She's a retired traffic cop. Okay. He's a writer? Okay. I really don't remember this period in this family. Okay. Yeah, so here's Carl. He's like a replacement Alfie. For Matt and Issy, he is a replacement Alfie, but not in like a replacement husband sort of way. This is sort of like a spiritual child of theirs. This wasn't a very eventful like segment. It was really just to bridge a gap, because whilst sorting out like my notes for this video, I realized I didn't have a save file saved. That sounds weird. I didn't have any evidence for my late night generation. I kind of go straight to the Generations generation, which I know sounds weird. So I really only included this because there's a gap and I need to explain some things about the late night generation using these sims, because a lot of them are relevant. So yeah, we're about to skip forward to Bridgeport now. Okay, so this is going to require quite a lot of explanation because, as I said in the last clip, I don't have any of the saves from my late night generation. So who you're looking at here is Millie's daughter, Winnie. But before I explain her story, I think I need to explain what happened to Millie. So we're gonna go into the town view because okay. So a few years after the last clip, Millie and her friend Donald decided to move to Bridgeport to try and become famous. And they moved into this apartment block here. If you've played The Sims 3 late at night, you know this is like the cheap building. the one room flat is in this building, so this is where they lived for about 2 years together. And then Millie wanted to be an actress, and then Donald wanted to be a director, I think. Millie somehow got involved with Matthew Hamming. Okay, so to zoom out again. Okay, once again, if you've played The Sims 3 Late Night, you know who Matthew Hamming is. He lives in this house here. He is like the rich single 5-star celebrity man in the town. And Millie got involved with him. It turns out Matthew, in my game, apparently, how do I put this? Likes to get around. You know, he's not monogamous. He's polyamorous, I guess, but without the consent of the women that he's involved with, without their knowledge. So Millie got involved with him somehow. I don't remember how, but they got together, and then they ended up having like a show wedding because they did it for the press, because you know the press love a wedding. And they moved into this house here, which is the house that Matthew lives in. He doesn't live here anymore. We'll get to that. So they lived here for a couple of years, and then they got divorced because they weren't really in love in the first place, you know. They were more so together for the clout, basically. But before they got divorced, they decided to have a baby for clout, and that baby is Winnie. She's got her dad's eyes. That's weird to say for like a sim, but like she looks a lot like her father. She doesn't look like the previous Sims in this legacy, which I think is a good thing because they all look terrifying. She looks terrifying too, you know what I mean. Yeah, so her parents got divorced when she was very young. Just to finish off Millie's story quickly, not too long after they got divorced, Millie ran away, basically. In my mind, what happened was that she was going to go to like rehab or something, and then she was going to come back and be like a good parent finally, because she wasn't the best parent. But then somehow the game decided to treat her as if she'd moved away to a different country. Like, she was greyed out like The Sims did from, like, China or France or whatever, so we couldn't interact with her in any way, shape, or form. So I just said that she ran away and never came back. She appears occasionally. She'll be back in town. Like, I think right now, yeah, she's in town now. But you can never meet up with her. It's weird. I don't really know why it's like that. But that's the situation we have with Millie. Yeah, not the best person. Now, okay, I'm gonna switch households now because I need some more explanation. Can I not click? Please don't crash. I think it's gonna crash. Oh, this is great, isn't it? Ugh. Let me stop recording for a second. Okay, so I'm back. My computer decided to not cooperate for a minute, but I'm back, so I'm trying to remember where we were up to. So, here's Donald. Oh, if you remember when we were in Twinbrook, he lived with us, with the main family, for a very brief period of time. He was Millie's best friend. They grew up together. They're, like, vaguely related. They decided that together they were going to move to Bridgeport and try and become famous. And not long after he got here, Donald started a relationship with a vampire called William Fangman, and William turned Donald into a vampire, and then they got married, and then I moved them out because I didn't really want to deal with them. Then story progression decided to have them get divorced, which was not my plan, but oh well, that's what happened. So then after he got divorced, I had him move back in with Millie, and at this point with Winnie as well. Meanwhile, here's Carl. Carl came over to Bridgeport after Millie and Matthew got married because they need it. If you're rich, you don't need to look after your children. You can have a robot look after your children for you. So, I'm assuming Barney sent Carl over here to look after their kids, and surprisingly, Carl and Donald fell in love. So we now have a gay robot and a gay vampire living their best celebrity lives, and I'm happy for them. They got married. They live in this massive house that was originally Matthew Hamming's, but I think the storyline in my head was that Minnie. Who's Minnie? I think the storyline in my head is that Millie got the house in the divorce settlement or something, and then when she ran away, she just left it to these two. So, yeah, they live here. So after Millie ran away, these two basically ended up raising Winnie. So they are basically like her surrogate dads. But then they decided that they wanted a kid of their own, so they adopted. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Why aren't you at home? Oh god, okay. So they adopted Cleopatra. She's named that because her sort of grandfather was an Egyptian mummy. So I thought this whole family can have Egyptian names. So I've decided, at some point, I forgot to mention this earlier, but at some point I decided that, okay, so it may have been like 3 days since the last clip was recorded. My family came home, and I get anxious recording in front of them, so I've had to wait for the next time I'm home alone. So anyway, as I was saying, at some point earlier on in the legacy, I think roughly around the Ambitions generation, I decided that I want to have a secondary legacy going on at the same time of specifically Supernatural Sims, because something about the Sims 3 Supernaturals in general, not just like the Supernatural expansion pack, but like the Supernaturals in The Sims 3 are just better than the ones that Sims 2 and The Sims 4 have. So I wanted to have a whole legacy of them. So that obviously started with Matanishi being a mermaid, wow. Being a mummy. And then his sort of... My cat just came in. This video is extremely messy. I apologise for that. It started off with Matanishi being a mummy. And then his sort of son, Carl, being a symbot. And then his husband, Donald, being a vampire. And then their daughter is human. Cleopatra's human. She's not a supernatural of any sort of type. But she does have an imaginary friend. Well, did. She had an imaginary friend called Snuggles, who they became really good friends with, and, you know, he came into being like a sentient being. And then I had Carl learn how to make the elixir of life. That's not what it's called, but whatever. The imaginary friend potion, basically. And then that made... Oh, why is he over here? Okay. That meant that Snuggles could come to life. So here's Snuggles. He is an imaginary friend. I don't think he's been a human for very long. I think it was quite recently that I did this. But yes, this is the supernatural side of the family. They're not biologically related to the main, like, LEPacy legacy. So, yeah. Okay, so back to the main legacy. After her mother left, obviously Winnie was raised by Carl and Donald. Her lifetime wish is to have, like, a massive family. So she got in contact with her grandfather, Barney, who moved to Bridgeport to be with her. Also with his wife, Jane. Their daughter, I imagine, still lives in Twinbrook. I don't know. I've kind of forgotten about her. But yeah, these two live here now. They live in, like, a flat on the other side of town. They're not really that relevant. We don't see them very often, but it's nice to have them around. Like, they come around for, like, family events and stuff. Also, as you probably saw, she has a boyfriend. Right now his name is Ricardo Stryker. I changed his name to Richard Rake because I think Stryker is, like, his stepfather's name or something, and I changed his name to have his birth father's surname or something. I think his father is Romeo Rake. I think it's been a while. I wasn't planning to have them get together because I didn't really want there to be supernaturals in the main legacy. But then these two became, like, best friends automatically somehow. And so they just ended up getting together anyway without me wanting them to. So, yeah. She wants to have 5 kids. She literally just turned 18. Oh, God. I think they've literally just... Like, literally have just started this generation. Oh, good Lord. Ignore the amount of money that we have. It's because when you move Sims between towns, you get a lot of money using, like, NROS mods, I believe. I don't know. It's been a couple of months. I don't remember how The Sims 3 works anymore. But when you move Sims between towns, you get a lot of money because they have to sell literally everything they own. So that's why she's a millionaire. Living in a house by herself. They live in this, I don't even know what era you would call this, but, like, think 1 Division. This is the sort of house that I feel like she lives in. And I think I just got it off, like, the house bin or whatever you call it in this game. It was just one of the Generations houses that came with the game, because if you look at Bridgeport, there's really nowhere for, like, a family to live. It's all just flats or, like, massive mansions. So I had to put this down. I think originally this used to be the fire station here, and then I demolished it and then put this here instead. Okay, so the next clip that you're going to see is from where I am currently in the family. And by currently, I mean where I was like 4 months ago, but the most recent time I played the game. So this is where I am currently with this legacy. Was it on the pets generation 6, maybe? I don't know. This is Connie the second. She is in her pajamas. This is Connie the second. She is Winnie's daughter. I apologize for the amount of gaps that there are in this. There was a large portion of time where, portion of time where not much happened, so I didn't really keep the saves that were happening. But we are now another 20-something years in the future. I think basically assume that there's been 20-something years between every single one of these clips, because I do have the maths worked out, but I haven't seen it all written down in a while. And we're back again. Okay. Yeah, so just basically assume that there's been like 20-something years between each clip, unless I say that there hasn't been. Because I have like a family tree for this family. It's got like 90-something people on it. It's huge. And on there I have like specific years of like when every sim was born, because I feel like I should have explained this earlier, but each day in my mind is 6 months. So every 2 days is a year. So obviously that's how maths works. But so that's how I did my aging system and everything. I can't believe I didn't explain this earlier. Oh, good lord. Okay, great timing. You mentioned all this stuff on the last clip. Anyway, where was I going with this? So yeah, so this is Connie the second. She looks kind of terrifying. I blamed that on her father, because her father is a vampire and he has very strong eyebrows, and I think most, if not all, of the children got these eyebrows. So yeah, there's that. She is... Okay, how about I'm gonna go to the family house, explain that. Oh, she's an elder. Oh, good lord, what's happened here? Okay, so this is maybe a more appropriate place to start. As you can see, she completed her lifetime wish, which was to have 5 children, go from babies to teenagers. So these are her kids. Yeah, there was a large period of time where all she was doing was having babies and getting pregnant and being off work and all of that. I think she is a teacher technically, or she might be retired now, but generally she didn't go to work very often, and so I didn't really care that much about her career. Yeah, these 5 children, they're all, because Winnie is so family oriented and like really, because her parents weren't very parental towards her, she wanted to give all her kids names that mean something to her in terms of like family. So all these kids are named like Barney and we'll talk about Alice, Connie, and then Archie and Romeo. Romeo's after Richard's father. They're all names that have been in the family before. So that's why we've got some like Barney the second and Connie the second. It's a bit confusing, but I thought it would be nice as like a little homage to the rest of like the legacy, because we're about halfway through now. I thought it would make sense if we start reusing some names a little bit. I probably won't do this ever again because it does confuse me sometimes. So here's Winnie. Not beyond having children, she really hasn't done much in her life. They have a dog called Taffy. That's as much. I don't really remember much about her. She's a chow chow, I think. my sister chose a Chow Chow because that's one of the few dog breeds she actually like knows. So every dog that she sees is either a pug or a Chow Chow. I feel like this dog should have died years ago, but she hasn't. She's still alive. I don't know why. She, they got her when they moved to Appaloosa Plains, which was at least 10 years ago. So I feel like this dog should be dead. But okay. So this is their massive house. Yeah, I don't really like it. It was just kind of like the biggest house that we could fit them all in Appaloosa Plains. So this is where they lived. You can see because we had 5 children, we've got a lot of bunk beds because we needed to fit everyone into a 3-bedroom house. Actually, no, it's not. It's a 4-bedroom house. So here's Richard's vampire bed because, you know, he's a vampire. Yeah, not much to say about this generation. Literally, like I said, all that really happened in this generation was baby making and then waiting for those babies to grow up and then move out. So really, no one in this family is that memorable, to be honest. So yeah, I'm gonna move on. Okay, we're back. We're back with Connie the second. Bonnie has just achieved something. Okay. Okay. So, Connie, good lord, okay. This never used to be confusing for me until I took a break and now I don't remember who anyone is. Connie is a horse girl. Because, you know, The Sims 3 is the only Sims game that has horses in the game, hence why we have horses. And I thought, what better person to have horses than a horse girl? So, literally from when she was born, she was obsessed with horses. She had a horse-themed bedroom, and now she has horses. This is her main horse, Bonnie. Connie and Bonnie, I know. This was accidental. I know. Trust me, it was. This is the main horse, the one she races with, and then completed her lifetime wish with. I don't really remember much about. I think it might have glitched out and completed her lifetime wish when it wasn't meant to, because I feel like I was nowhere near completing it, and then it just kind of accidentally happened. I don't really remember, but she's completed her lifetime wish now, which is nice. And then Bonnie recently had a kid called Ivy, which I do not remember naming her that. But this is the foal, because I thought once we were done with the horse racing, we'd start with the horse breeding, and, you know, that'd be fun. We're not going to have a horse legacy or anything, because I cannot deal with that. But, you know, have a nice little horse family would be nice. I realised that a lot of my Sims, well, the majority of my Sims were either cis-het people or gay men. So I decided to have a little bit more diversity with this generation, because the chances of Winnie and Richard having 5 cis-het children is a bit slim, especially now that we're over 100 years into the future at this point. So Connie is asexual. She finds fulfillment in her horses rather than in, like, romantic pursuits or, like, the idea of having children. She is fine with just having horses in her life, and she doesn't want to be with anyone. So yeah, I thought it was a nice change, and also, you know, not everyone has to end up in a relationship, which is nice. Also, she has a sister, Alice, who I was going to talk about, who for some reason doesn't live in the town anymore. I don't know what happened to her. She's kind of left. But she's trans, because I hadn't had a trans person in this legacy yet. So that's why her name doesn't match up with the naming theme of everyone else, because she chose it herself. Well, I chose it, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I wanted to have The Sims be a bit more diverse, because I already had quite a lot of, like, racial diversity in the legacy, because I'm going deep into this, but I remember back even back in the olden days, but also like back in April when I started this legacy, a lot of the people who I was watching on YouTube were having, you know, like their Aryan white skin, what? Blue, blonde hair, blue eyed Sims starting a legacy and having all their very white daughters continue that legacy, and that doesn't sit right with me. Something about that just doesn't make me feel good. So even though Alfie, the original Alfie, was, you know, maybe he was like blonde hair, blue eyes. I don't really remember. I think he was. But then, obviously, he married BB, and then she's of a person of color, and then through the legacy, I've, intermarried with different people groups, because we can't just have a massive, long line of, like, a whole 12 generation legacy, which is what this will be. 12 generations of just white people, So, I didn't want to do what everyone else... Not that I didn't want to do what everyone else was doing, not to, I want to be different, but, I wanted to show that there are different people in the world, really, And this is what I tried to do with this generation, with having, someone who's trans and then someone who's asexual, and obviously I've got quite a few, mostly bisexual men, because I feel like all of the men who are in same-sex relationships or have been in same-sex relationships have been with women at some point. I think maybe Donald's the only one who was only exclusively been with men. I don't know. But anyway, I wanted there to be some diversity, because usually you just have white parents with their 5 white kids, and no. We're not doing that in 2021. No. Anyway, run over. that went somewhere. Here is Cleopatra. She is here. I had her and Snuggles move over to Appaloosa Plains with Winnie and Richard, because they're effectively sisters, even though in the game they're not considered sisters. They were raised together, so yeah, it would make sense that they would move town together. So they moved here. I feel like maybe... I can't remember if they had a child back in Bridgeport. I feel like all their children were born here, though. I don't know. So they have 3 kids. Ptolemy, Berenike, and Akhenaten. All different Egyptian names. Because we love a theme. Oh, she's getting quite old. Okay. Wait, her son's her boss. How did that happen? Okay, so unbeknownst to me, Cleopatra works for her son. No, that sounds weird. I didn't even realise that they worked in the same career. So that's fun, I guess. Not really much. I don't really play with them that much. I don't play with them at all. I only play with them like if they're having a kid and I want to name their child. This generation's kind of a bit of a gap, because the supernatural that comes with pets is the unicorn. Yeah, so because unicorns aren't a type of sim per se, there's not really a point to this family in during this generation, so I've just kind of let them do what they want. They adopted cats at some point. They've got a cat called Sammy, apparently. Great. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say about this lot at this point in time. And here's Ptolemy, the eldest son. He is going to be continuing the legacy of supernatural sims, I guess. Whatever you want to call it. The supernatural legacy. I don't know. Because his father is an imaginary friend, he can indeed turn into a toy, which is fun. Main point, obviously, he's green. I don't know why he's green. Both of his parents have natural skin tones. I don't know how this happened. I think when he was born, he was, like, normal skin toned. And then it had a glitch, I think, with a couple of the babies born around at the same time. When they left hospital, they were one skin tone, but by the time they got home, they had a different skin tone. So this is what he looks like now, I guess. There's not a whole lot I have to say about him, because once again, he's not really that important. I will be bringing him over to Starlight Shores, or whatever the name of the Showtime town is. God, that took me a while. Here's some more of the cats, because I think these cats are all related. They've got fleas. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, oh, good. Oh, wow. There is a full, like, cat family tree going on in this town. Okay. Yeah. And here's Ptolemy's wife, Chantrelle. She, I think, is a child when you start Appaloosa Plains. Maybe? Basically, we needed someone from Appaloosa Plains to be part of the family. And this was basically the only person who was roughly Ptolemy's age. So here we are. They're married. They're not pregnant, I don't think. I don't think they're pregnant. Oh, I know who is pregnant. I'm not going to show you them because I really cannot be asked at this point. Winnie and Richard's oldest son, Barney 2, his wife is pregnant. Basically, the Showtime generation has been conceived. They're not here yet, obviously, but they are in the process of being made. That's a really weird way of describing having a child. I have no idea what's going on here. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. So yeah, that was the first 6 generations of this LEPacy. We've got another 6 to come, so maybe in a year's time I'll make another video about this. I don't know if I'll ever play this again because all my settings have been reset and I really can't be asked to sit through it all again. But hopefully you enjoyed it, maybe? I don't know. At least you know what I've been doing for the past year. So no, that's something, I guess. Yeah. Bye.